All right. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:31. It is March 19th. It is Fed Day. It is Wednesday. And we got the Fed today. The question is, how dovish will the Fed be? How many cuts? We'll figure out what he has to say when he has to say it. 2 o'clock statements come out. 2:30 is the press conference. So far, the market's been, a little temperamental. We had a big rally Friday. You had some follow through on Monday, and yesterday they kind of, gave you a big leg sweep. So if you were pretty long, you had to measure your commitment to some of the positions. Even if you were smart and went after some of the stronger names, it was still difficult. But ultimately, we'll see what goes on today. When you take a look at the chart of the spies, it's really you look at it and it's like yesterday wasn't the end of the world, right? I sent you guys levels and we went over it, and I said 559 needs to hold, and what held yesterday? Look at that, 559.06. Oh, not even 559.11. Sorry. So ultimately, in the moment, it felt a little bit, disruptive or not even constructive. But all in all, from the move off the highs here down to 649, you had your first move up. It got rejected at the 200-day, which usually happens. On the way down, first time you hit the 200-day, find support before you break it. So the first time going to it, obviously, it's going to see some sellers. So now what? I would put this in here. This is 565. So we'll see what happens, see what type of day. Usually on Fed Day, you break it up into multiple different portions of a day, where you have your first part of the day, then you have the 2 o'clock statements, then you have the press conference, and then you have action until he's done speaking. And then sometimes there's a sell program, and then you have sometimes a trend into the end of the day. And then sometimes the day after you get the opposite trend. So a lot of stuff goes on. So whatever you do, don't be in a rush, and make sure you know why you're doing it. Ultimately, though, here's a chart of the spies. So we'll see how it goes. Right now, the spies are gaining a little bit of traction. You have, up $1.60, so kind of no man's land, 562.11. This high here again is 565, and then this is 569. So, what does help is knowing your levels, not trying to play things in no man's land. That definitely does help. The Qs also a little weaker yesterday, but what did it do? It held, kind of the mid-range. So we'll see how it goes today. Overall, again, kind of came out of this little descending channel here. Big, 3-day move up, came in. Now here's your support. This is 472.41. So let's write that in. I like to have the right point of references in here. Here's 472.41, and then you have this is what, 479.43. So again, you want to know where the high end of the range, the low end of the range, and then the outer ranges. So here is kind of your inside range. This is where we're probably going to be in prior to the Fed statements. And then the question is, does it get above 479 to see 485? Or does it get below 472.41 to see 466? Or does it just stay in the range? So again, knowing where the ranges are and how it's going to be trading within those ranges definitely does help. And if you try and do things too early, it could, it cannot be the best thing to do. But anyway, so that's the spies, that's the Qs. What are going to be the keys to the day? There's always keys to the day. Who's got the keys to the castle? Well, anyway, Nvidia, to me, again, yesterday they were able to sell the news. Seems like they have a lot of new chips coming out. AI is here to stay. The compute, to this, to that, whatever you want to say. Bottom line is the stock has been range bound, monotonous. Look where this was in 2024 in June. It was higher. Okay, here we are heading into March 19th, and it's just been a monotonous mess. So as important as Nvidia has been, it really hasn't been that important. But anyway, it does give you some clues to the day. And the question is, will today's up move would hold? So right now, Nvidia's up $1.50. It's at 116.92. So what's yesterday's high? 119.02. So what does Nvidia do today? If we open up and they all of a sudden could sell Nvidia and they take it red, chances are spies, Qs are not going to build. They're going to sell into strength. It feels like they've been selling into strength for multiple weeks. If it were to break 114.54 and head down towards the 112s, chances are, things are going to sell down even more in tech. But if all the sellers come in. It's a big if, and it holds, and then they, and they squeeze it up. Maybe it'll help take some of the indices, a little bit higher. So we'll see. I did buy a little bit of options into this down move for the end of the week, just in case, they wanted a little bit more of a rally, before bringing us back to the lows of 2025 and below them, which I do think we're probably going to have in the weeks and months to come. If you think about what Trump wants to do, he wants to slow down the economy. What does he want to do? He wants to, bring in spending so this way rates can go lower. They could refinance their debt. In order to do so, he's got to keep those tariffs in, and we have between now and April 2nd. And, lo and behold, we had two fantastic big years, and we're going to at least need to consolidate / go sideways. So in a sideways market, got to be careful buying high to sell higher. And sometimes you could even get squeezed if you're, if you don't know what the conditions are. So I would watch Nvidia today. Nvidia is going to be, a key. As far as mega cap tech, it's just not their market. 2 days ago when the market was up on Monday, everyone's like, why isn't Meta up? Why isn't Amazon up? Why isn't Google up? Is it a trap? They're going to trap the shorts, for yesterday. And then meanwhile, no, it just meant they were that weak. And the bear flag, which we've all seen, pictures of a bear flag, could trigger lower. So you had Amazon, bear flag, come in, and now we'll see, if this bottom tail is going to lead to a little bit more upside. Some people are like, oh, what's Amazon doing? Amazon's up a whole 50 cents. It's not like you're missing a whole much, 193.38. So what's yesterday's high? 194. So, just whatever. It's not like you're missing anything in Amazon. Meta, wow, from the best stock in the world to, sold on every piece of strength. This ascending channel broke at 725. It's been below the 8-day ever since, hitting 574. You have to really measure out where these things can go, if anywhere. What's Meta doing today? Up a whole dollar. This is the market we're in. Anyway, got to have a lot of self-control, my dogs. It's very easy to lose money, and it's very hard to keep the money when you have good trades. So if you have a good trade and you set up triggers, do not go back to it. I know I made a lot of money. I had a great day in a lot of the Chinese names on Monday, and I only kept a third. But if you look back and kind of like hindsight here, and like what's the big deal? We were extended from the 8-day, and it pulled in a little bit to make people, I guess, have to work a little bit harder, right? Because this was awesome. This trade to me was one of the first momentum trades in a while, where I was in a lot of options last week for Bob. I started buying them Thursday or Friday. It came in flat. If you remember, on Monday we opened lower. I was able to buy Baba through 141, through 145, and I trimmed all the way up to 148. And all I did is keep a third, and then yesterday keeping a third, kind of hurt. Anyway, Baba's up $3. Tencent had great earnings. I'd love to see this hang in here a little bit, and then at some point this week, take out 148.53. I do think, this trend is going to continue. I think China is strong. I think you're coming out of there 2007, 2008. Here's your weekly chart on China right here. All in all, it would kind of be unfortunate if this turned into like a push-through failure and that was it. But I don't think that's the case. I still think that we're going to see somewhere into this 170 area in the months ahead. So stay with this trend. Baidu woke up. I do have PDD options on for earnings. Earnings for PDD are coming out when? March 20th. Today's March 19th. So I did buy a bunch of them on Monday, and I added to them yesterday. If this can get above 130, and see 133 prior to the print, I might turn it into a call spread. Some of my sales traders, believe it or not, there are a few sales traders out there that I talk to because they get my note and we barter information, think that the number is going to be really good. So we'll see. Look what Tiger did yesterday on their good number. That's really, that's a big move. Okay. It's good to see that actually a stock could actually, trade on its own because of great numbers versus just be a blanket buy or sell with the overall tape. So some people like, where could Tiger get to? Well, looks like he can get to 13, 14. This is a Chinese brokerage firm. It seems like their equity is going to be doing a lot better, so their business could be getting a lot better. Go to the weekly chart, and you'll see that this looks like it's just waking up. Why can't this C, this area, you know. So try and stay with it. It's down 30 cents. Maybe buy a dip. Look what it did back in the day. This was a $25, $30 name. I'm not saying it's going to do that, but it is waking up. So put this in your Chinese basket. As far as what else was I going to say? Let me see what some of my dogs are saying around the world. It's 9:41. Let's see how we're doing here. Ken Neiman, why don't you have volume on your charts? It's a good question. I do have volume on. I have volume on charts that correlate to the level twos that I'm in. But yes, you definitely need volume. But sometimes stocks go up on low volume and people get short and get hurt. And sometimes they say, oh, well, it's down on low volume. So I like volume on breakouts. I like volume in special. And I always check out volume when a stock moves in the first 15, 30 minutes to see if there's a real commitment to it when it's breaking out. But sometimes, volume can be deceiving. But I hear you. You're right. Good morning, my dog. What's up, Nugsy? Nugsy, did you watch the 25-20? So it was interesting. So yesterday around 8 o'clock, I sent out a tweet that goes to, Red Dog Mindset. I'm like, all right, guys, tomorrow's another day. We can't control the environment. We can only control our approach to it. And I had like 5 responses real fast. Say, we're pros. We get paid to deal with markets like this. I was like, you know what? That's a friggin' strong statement. We are pros. I've been doing this for 25 years. There are times when it's easy. There's times when it's hard. There's times when you have to play ranges. There's times when you have to be careful. There's times when you could have 30 positions on and the market's trending. There's all different types of times. And the only way you're going to see them clearly is if your mind's right and you develop your seat time. So the 25-20, if you subscribe above, is it's like $10 a month. It's 33 cents a day. And I do a whole lot of things to help get your mind right so you could come into the 630 Cub, look at the charts, execute with confidence when the market opens. A lot of people are on the alpha team talking all day long, figuring it out together. Redler All Access is a big note, but this, Red Dog Mindset is the pre-game. It's getting up early. It's getting situated. It's feeling good. It's getting the blood flow. It's getting your mobility, getting your sweat out, while you're thinking about your day multiple ways. But Nugsy, thanks for joining and keeping so positive. Danielle Hoffman said there's an Amazon buy setup. Gap down to 2-month low yesterday, filling a preview. Yeah, Amazon at the end of the day, Daniel, was actually kind of strong. Amazon at the end of the day stopped going down, so it did feel like there were some buyers there. So maybe there's a push in Amazon, but it's not going to be the Amazon of 3, 6, 9 months ago, in my humble opinion. Some now before it goes into June. That's true. Miami Jeff, what are you saying? Completely agree with your take. Okay. Blair from Alpha Team says, what's up? Blair always gives nice content and contributes and try and helps the overall team. Dario Dip says, good morning. Sell the news. Yeah. We'll see what happens. I think today could be a more important day for Nvidia than even yesterday as far as stock action wise. Space Specialist is doing well. All right. If you guys want to, ask questions, you could always go into the YouTube / Twitter feed. Anyway, you know what? Someone's like, what about crypto? Crypto sucks. I'm like, I can't say it sucks. That's not a nice word, but it's in a digestive phase. Listen, crypto had a big move. Crypto went from, the 30,000 to 108. The IBIT went from 41 to 61. So what's it doing right now? It's just, digesting like everything else. I lost a little bit of money in IBIT yesterday. I did add to some options just in case it starts to get better when we're not looking. This is the IBIT. So if you're long the IBIT and held it, 4609, I guess, we'll see where it can go. Ultimately, though, it's just not acting special. It's not acting like gold. Everyone made fun of the baby boomers. Oh, baby boomers keep buying your fiscal gold. Guess what? They're laughing all the way to the bank. A lot of baby boomers have experience. Always listen to your elders. They've been doing this for a long time. I know for me, I've been, trading since 1998. I survived the NASDAQ tech bubble bursting, the financial crisis of 2007-8. You can even Google Scott Redler financial crisis. You'll see me on CNBC with all of your major celebrities back in the day, twice a week. Anyway, and then that's what helped me deal with the pandemic in 2020. And now here we are in 2025. Your elders know. Don't try and be a smart ass. Anyway, I don't think Bitcoin put its high in. I do think, at some point this year, it will get better. And some of you are getting spun around Mr. Mr. Chart isn't so horrible. It's been in the descending trend line, descending channel for a long time. Once it finally gets and stays above, maybe there's better action there. At this point, you could be long versus 272. 272 is right here. So I would put that in there. And at some point, perhaps, what's this level? It's got to get above and stay above 298.70 in order to start a new active sequence. Okay, it hasn't done it yet. If anything, every little piece of strength has been sold. So, stay prudent. It did go from like 147 to 543. And look at this big wide range bar. Remember when I was actually short there? Then you had some, red dog reversal selling with strength before that break. So it's getting closer. More pain in Tesla. There's some news that Tesla got their robo-taxi approval in California, so it's up today. I guess you could see if it holds up. I'm not in Tesla. It's cute how Tesla had to come in almost to the lows of the year before, having a little bit of a gap up. So if you want to look at, Tesla right now, it's up 740 at 232. What's this? This is 233. This is 232. So I would see if it gets above that or not. I wouldn't just blindly short it, but lately you buy Tesla up 7-8 points, it does not work. So see what happens. Maybe sellers come in, it doesn't go down, and it pushes a little bit higher. Then here's your 8-day. Your 8-day is right here. So it's been rejected into the 8-day this entire time. Okay, it's been very faulty. It's been an active sequence to the sell side. Listen, I'm not going to talk about Musk. What I'm going to say is, I think what he's trying to do is it's great for the overall country, but there's going to be a lot of pain inflicted, and people don't like short-term pain anymore. They'd rather just, print trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and who knows what that means in a decade from now. But he is taking money out of the economy. There is a lot of collateral damage. He's getting rid of a lot of fraud and a lot of froth, but there are some good people losing their jobs too because there's blanket stuff going on, and it's very complicated. It's over my head. It's over my pay grade. So for me, when Tesla's above the 821 day, I try and be long. When it's below it, I try and stay away and just pick and choose my trades wisely. Here, it was unbelievable. Gapped up. He was with Trump, halo effect all the way up until that salute, which was the stupidest thing I've ever seen him do at the inauguration. Anyway, since then, it's been lower highs and lower highs and lower highs all the way down to the lows here. So now it's a battleground. What's MA saying? Not sure if you trade futures, but what are your thoughts in adjusting the charts? Meaning, do you think a level should stay at the price forever? Should it change? I think intraday levels are more important than overnight. But you could see how it's kind of trading overnight. Also, you could see so watch. So if you go SPYs here, let's do the SPYs real quickly. SPYs are up $1.33. I could see where they're trading on this chart. So I have SPYs here, right? And then there's lots of different ways to have lots of different charts. So and then the SPYs here. So SPYs go to there. You could see the chart there too, and then you could also see, here it's showing you where it is. Right there, 2 hour. You go, here's a 2 hour chart. Here's, let's see, 90 days. So it's already showing you kind of what it's doing here. So let's get this out of the. So anyway, so there's lots of different ways. I like to know the high from the day before or not. So as of right now, if you look here, it looks a little bit more constructive overnight, right? Let's get rid of this. But I like to have my daily chart from the day before because to me that gives me more my point of reference. Hold on. So anyway, so that's the low. So what does have room to 565 and then 570? I'd like to get rid of this. Remove. Let's go. Where's the remove? Remove, delete, select the line. Hey! Anyway, so that shows you the candlestick that's developing in the morning for the SPYs already. And this shows you, where it was yesterday. So I do have a bunch of things, that I look at. Dash I like a lot. Dash was tough too yesterday. Dash, they had to pull it all the way in so fast. They had to have it down 8-9 points. Dash I actually was one of the names I traded pretty well. Into the pullback, I bought the stock. Into the bounce, I trimmed some. Into the pullback, I bought options further out and then traded around it. So I have a little bit more conviction in Dash that I could buy a dip. But, you don't want to get a false sense of security because, some people that did that with Reddit got their clock cleaned. What a predatory move. I kind of got lucky because, I was buying options here, thinking that maybe it gets an oversold bounce like Apple Oven did and Palantir did in some of those. And I was doing a spaces with the Wolf, and all of a sudden news came out with Google, and it ran, and I was able to sell my options into strength. And then I was talking on spaces, and I didn't see it fall $10. So I bought some options back, which I did lose on yesterday, but some people bought the stock thinking, oh my God, it just went to 142. I could buy it at 136 or 130. And PS, the stock didn't even bounce once yesterday. That's tough. But again, it's below the 8-day, right? Here, above the 8 and 21-day, nice trend, broke it right there. When you look back, it's so easy to see. So you want to look back and learn from the chart from the prior few weeks. So then when next time you're in the moment, you say, hey, I shouldn't be doing that. Here, look what happened last time. Anyway, that being said, what does Brish Block say? I put yesterday in PM highs, lows in my chart. They often get obeyed. Yeah, anyway, so with that being said, guys, be careful. Fed days are tricky. Lots of moves within a day. Sometimes they get very sloppy, very loose and wide. So just don't fall for that. There's different parts of the day. And what is Palantir? You want me to go over? Palantir is hanging out a little bit better than other names. It's not special. It's not great. It's not like it was, 3, 6, 9 months ago when it was trending. It broke trend right here. It's been below the 8-day since. It's trying to act better. So this is on the B list, better than the D or the F list. So it's trying to act better. That's the new special. So anyway. So I guess what's it doing this morning? What's Palantir doing this morning with the futures up a little bit? It's up 49 cents. And there's your little candle that you wanted to see. So if anything, just keep your expectations down. If you make money, net it. Don't give it back. Try and keep a level head. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you have things you could do when the day is over. I was talking to Conrad, who I've been working with. I said, what'd you do after trading in the morning? He's like, I went for a nice hike. I went outside. I played a little tennis. That's very therapeutic. You do that, then all of a sudden you can come back to work the next day and be ready to go versus a shell of yourself. I've seen lots of traders come and go. I've seen lots of guys that were very, very talented, trade for 2-3 years, make a lot of money, and then all of a sudden become shells of themselves because they got too big. They started to expand too fast. They started to buy too many houses. And then when the market didn't give them what they were used to making, they pushed their keys and all of a sudden got frustrated and then didn't know what a good trade looked like anymore. And now some of them are, driving car services. With that being said, though, good luck today. I'm about to do 40 charts. If you do find value in the 630 Club and you've been here since 2020, I would subscribe to the Red Dog Mindset. It is a great little addition to everything that I do. Gives you a little bit of more of a different type of approach, if your mind is right, you could execute on the X's and O's. If your mind is right and you have the right routine and process and you have the right thinking, you could do this for 10, 20, 30 years. If you don't, you know what, you're going to come and go just like most other traders that I've seen. So anyway, if you want to make changes, make some changes. And you say, hey, it's my fault, not the market. Maybe you'll make some changes that help your day and your week. Either which way, good luck today.